Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Okay, so enough with the
Greg
age.
Speechless.
Yes, the age-related humor. I started. I'm sorry. So let's zoom out a little bit. We're sort of coming, I think, to the end of the discussion, and there's been a lot of discussion. So we've had ChatGPT for approximately a year, and over the course of that time, Google sort of changed its public position on AI generated content. It started out where the perception was that Google was rejecting it, or rejecting automated content, and then the position is publicly shifted from we don't want AI content or automated content to we just care about quality, and it doesn't matter how you generate it, right? Human versus AI or some mix of both. So what do you really think about that? What do Google is really, I think, struggling to get out in front of a lot of the criticism that it's been leveled against it, and a lot of the sort of competitive pressure that it feels. And so we have had like a bazillion algorithmic updates and changes this year, a lot of volatility. What do you think how Google's going to react to all this AI content? Certainly, uh, sort of low quality SEO types are going to pump out a lot of volume using AI cheaply, and there's going to be a lot more spam or quasi spam online. But what is your opinion about sort of going forward, how this is all going to impact search quality and spam versus good content? And
So
Google's
I listen
reaction
to, there's a podcast in the affiliate marketing world that I listen to called Authority Hacker. And I love it because the affiliate marketing world is like super spammy like compared to local, right? And even they're admitting that like AI content is like they're telling people don't do it. Like if you run an affiliate site, like don't just publish 5,000 pages with a click of a button. There's lots of people out there that'll tell you to do it. I think that Google had to change their stance on it, though, to not be against AI when they are also producing AI. And they're starting to use AI. We see it in like Google business profiles. People have tweeted that, they're seeing the description now being generated by AI. So, they can't contradict themselves there. But I think it's more of like, when is it appropriate and when is it not? And I would say for the majority of content that we come up with, it's not super appropriate to use AI to generate the content. And we're seeing more that Google is favoring real life data and real life stats. Like you talk about case studies, things like that. They work phenomenally because you're putting in your own data. You're publishing something that doesn't match 500 other pages online. So we're seeing that kind of stuff win really well in local. Like if you have your own information on your website, that's not just like, regurgitated stuff about a specific topic.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of goes to their first person. I'm sorry, Darren. It goes to their sort of first person authority, kind of social media emphasis in a certain way. Go ahead, Darren. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar. I think that Google had recognized, well, there's no way to perfectly identify what's AI generated and what's not. It's not like they can make some hard stance about it. And I think like you can really tell the difference between regurgitated content, whether it was regurgitated by a machine or a human, you can still see that it's garbage. It's nothing original. And this whole move towards EEAT stuff, so you're speaking from a place of expertise and authority and trust. When you are doing that with your content and experience, which is the new E that they added, it makes so much sense. And that's what I'm actually really trying to squeeze out of our clients when we talk to them. That's why we want to do the interview style. We don't want to just have ChatGPT write the service page on Invisalign or drain cleaning or whatever it is. We want to have the client write that page. And we know they don't have time to write. So you get ChatGPT to write the questions. You get it from their voice. Why are you special? What do you do that's different? And then that's a new piece of content that Google hasn't seen before. And I think that is the type of content that's going to work now and into the future.
So are you guys in a certain way kind of ironically saying that content is going to get better in a certain weird way because of AI, because the tendency to want to spam is there, and so Google is going to reward authoritative, real human created content, and that will force everybody into that sort of lane. Is that sort of an argument that you guys are impliedly making?
I think it's the ideal, but we see all the time that Google's ideal, what they want is not reality, right? So then they say they want EAT. Yes, they want that. Do they actually serve that in their search results? A lot of times, no. So I think traditional SEO plays are still super valid. Like, to give a clear example, we have a lawyer client who I got to outrank the government of Texas. Is he more authoritative than the government of Texas? Hell no. But he outranks them because we do a lot better SEO than .gov sites generally do. So I think that, again, it's like a balance, but I think that in an ideal world, yes, Google wants to reward EEAT, but I do not think they are there all the time.
It's an interesting question, though. Does the influx of so much AI generated content push the industry to create better content? And I think maybe, yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that before. And maybe that is happening. It's happening in our agency. We're thinking about that and trying to like level up our content, add more expertise, not just sort of droning out service pages that are the same as everyone else's service page. I think our process before might have been more like, let's look at the top performing service pages in the big cities like New York and Seattle and Los Angeles, get some inspiration and then write our version of it. And now that isn't as good because you end up with more of the same. Whereas when you can extract the unique voice of your specific client, that feels like better content. And so, yeah, maybe.
And you're using
Greg,
ChatGPT to enable that process. You're using ChatGPT to enable that process.
That's right.
Again, it's sort of an irony. Mike, did you want to add anything to this about sort of Google and
No, I don't. Okay. It's to be determined, and obviously Google has not just this issue, but many other issues on their plate, and it'll be interesting to see. We live in interesting times, as they say, and
yeah,
I'm glad I'm along for the ride.
Okay, so as a kind of final question to wrap up, I mean, we could go on and go down a bunch of different kind of areas and explore more. I mean, this has been a really interesting, I think, and useful conversation. But as a final question, what do you guys think the impact of AI is going to be on SEO, the industry, and local SEO in particular in the near term? Let's say, within the next 3 years. What specific changes or what specific changes or innovations do you think are going to happen?
So I'm definitely not pessimistic about it. I don't think my job's in danger or Darren's job's in danger. Like, I think we're fine. I think local is one of the most genuine things like out there as far as industry go, like when it comes to reviews and photos and so many things that you just can't fake. So I'm not really worried in any way, shape, or form. I think the changes will probably divide what type of local SEO agency you are. The division between the people that are relying heavily on AI versus the people that are more like what Darren and I are talking about. Every time I think everybody's in line with us, just visit some Facebook groups, and let me tell you, you'll get the polar opposite approach to how to do this kind of stuff. So I do think that division probably will grow, but overall, I'm really optimistic about where the industry is headed, and I don't think anyone should be afraid for the jobs.
Yeah, I always think that for one word answers, like what is the square root of that? How old is this person? Like you doing those kinds of things. Our AI assistants will answer those questions. And that, I think, is, if that's the SEO's world you live in, then your SEO is in danger, because we're going to get those answers from, when Siri gets up to speed. We're going to just ask our assistant for these one-word answers. But with local, you need to explore the businesses. You're not just going to be like, I need a plumber to come and fix my my drains. Can you just call one and have them show up? That's not going to happen, because you're like, I need a plumber that's not going to drag mud all through my house and wreck my pipes and do this. And so you want to do the research. You want to look at the reviews. You want to look at the photos. You want to get a sense of whether or not this is a real business. And so because there's that research component, it's not a one-word answer. I think that local is one area of SEO that will continue to thrive, outside of like recipes and one-word answers. But I do think that the way that people are getting data will change, and I actually do think that Google's at risk if they don't pick up the pace. Like, if you look at the new ChatGPT voice thing, it's really good, and you can ask it all kinds of questions in just a natural way. It's almost like we're achieving that movie Her, where he just speaks to his assistant and gets everything he wants and gets everything done. Like, I see us heading that route. And so right now we think about the map pack and ranking businesses in these 3 results or into the Google Maps area. Will the interface be different in the future? And will our jobs as local SEOs be to optimize our client to be returned by ChatGPT's voice thing, or however Siri is pulling results? So it'll be our job to figure out, how does Siri determine which 5 businesses to return? And how do I make sure my business is listed first? Like, instead of focusing on the interface of the map pack, we're focusing on ranking our businesses in the voice results that people are getting back. I could see a shift like that happening in the next 3 years. I don't think it's going to happen in the next year, but I think SEOs will try to stay ahead of it, and they'll pivot along with the interface as things change.
Well, interestingly, just to add a comment onto that, people were very excited and worked up about voice search, a couple of years ago, and talked about voice optimization, and it never really materialized, right? It never really happened. I mean, people use text, speech to text, and input queries with voice, but the transformation that people were talking about never happened. But this may ultimately be that for certain people or certain use cases or certain segments of the population. We talked before the session about younger users really sort of gravitating potentially to that kind of a UI as opposed to the traditional Google SERP. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out over time.
And I have 2 comments there. One is that the incumbents that are in your pocket, Android and Apple, have a huge advantage in that, because if it takes a year or 2 for this to roll out, they have the resources and money to do that, versus ChatGPT building a piece of hardware. And then on the other side, which is the local SEO side, I think that what Joy pointed out, which is great photographs and good content, entity issues are going to provide the foundation for any future search. And so I think that what we've been doing will stay largely the same in broad parameters of making sure that the entities are accurate, detailed, down to the product level, up to the corporate level, and everything in between, including reviews and workers and all that stuff. So to some extent, it's going to be the same, because they need the data to rank the stuff however you ask for it and however it delivers. And it's going to be knowledge graphs driving all that, which also gives Google a huge advantage, because their local knowledge graph is still, despite its many flaws, still the best.
All right. On that note, thank you, Darren Shaw and Joy Hawkins, for a fascinating conversation. We'll pick it up again in another 6 months or a year and see where we are, see how much of this stuff has come true. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for listening. And if you're in the United States, have a great Thanksgiving, or hope you had a great Thanksgiving, depending on when you're listening to this. And if you're in Canada, go skiing, enjoy the sun. If you're you're in Edmonton, Darren, right? Yeah,
in Edmonton.
Okay. All right. So we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.